welcome back to Two Poets Reacts, where we react to videos and look at it from the perspective of a couple guys who write poetry. I'm Ben. I'm Corey.
And I am not Corey. I'm Ben.
Hi, Ben. I guess I just really wanted to be you really badly.
I mean, you're not the first person to ever say that. I get that a lot,
but no,
actually.
but no, I am Corey, and this is Ben, and we love to hang out and talk about all things creative, and we also do these reaction videos. Yeah,
Yes.
these are
And
so
they're
much fun.
so fun. These are like some of the most fun things we do.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I'm really excited about today because I have no idea who it is. Like, I've heard the name, and so I haven't. We are going to be reacting to another poet tonight, and
Yes.
I've heard the name. It sounds familiar, but I've actually never read anything or heard any spoken word from it. So I'm really excited about it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. This is one of my all-time favorite poets, and I've been reading him for a long, long time. He's had a huge influence on the poetry world in general. He's written so many books.
Really?
The guy has like so many poetry books. You can go to any bookshop and go to the poetry section, and doesn't matter if it's a secondhand bookshop or like a Barnes and Noble, like his book is probably on the shelf. Like, he's
That is
everywhere.
awesome.
So today is a reaction to actually two poems written by this author. Today is the author Billy Collins.
Billy Collins, and
Actually,
yes, two
Probably,
videos.
probably one of the poets that I own the most books of. I think I have like
Really?
4 of his. So
Nice.
a good time.
Yeah, so it's saying something if this is one of Ben's influences and someone Ben looks up to in the poetry world. And so, yeah, like Ben said, we're going to be reacting to 2 videos.
Yes.
Since these are shorter, we decided to go ahead and do 2 videos. So we will watch one, talk about it, give our reaction, watch another one, and talk about it, give our reaction, all in this one video. Ben, and what do we need to know about Billy Collins before we jump into this?
Yeah, so Billy Collins, he has been around. He's a professor. I've got a little thing pulled up on him here. An American poet. He served as poet laureate of the United States from 2001 to 2003, which I still don't know what a poet laureate does, honestly.
Same.
I
Yeah,
know
I
I
don't
know
either.
they exist, and I've heard them read their poems and their addresses, but I'm like, what else do you do besides that? Anyway, uh, he was a distinguished professor at Lehman College at the City University of New York. He retired in 2016. He is recognized as a literary lion of the New York Public Library. That was in 1992. And he's selected as the New York State Poet from 2004 through 2006. In 2016, he was inducted into the American Academy of Arts and Letters.
Wow.
As of 2020, he is a teacher in the MFA program at Stony Brook, Southampton. So
Very cool.
this guy is a pro. He's been around for quite a minute. And so I'm really excited to... I'm excited to watch his videos, but I'm also excited to see your reaction to him because he is really, really good with creating imagery. He's really good at that kind of conversational commentary. So he's not necessarily a poet with a stance or like a message per se, but he uses his humor, his imagery, and kind of his perspective to convey more broad meanings or to convey some more intimate thought, basically. The 2 poems today have a lot. They showcase his humor really, really well.
Okay, cool.
So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The first poem is Lanyard, and this is like, I read the poem and I thought it was really funny. Like, it's in one of the books I have, one of the 5 books, and I read it to my wife out loud, and it was funny. But then watching him read it and hearing the way he reads it, it's even better. So I'm really excited.
Perfect.
I'm really
Awesome.
excited.
Well, heck yeah, let's get into it. All right, so we got Billy Collins reading his poem Lanyard. So let me get that pulled up here. All right. Yeah, this is looks like it's 3 minutes long, a little over 3 minutes, and so yeah, let's get into it. Billy Collins reading his work, Lanyard.
I'm going to read a poem, read a few more, a poem um, about what American children tend to do in the summer often. It's called The Lanyard. And it's a poem, I guess, with it, what does what most poets tend to do, which is if you want to write something, write about a topic that's rather large, you choose kind of an image as point of point of entry. Rather than taking on the topic in a frontal way. So, the lanyard. The other day, as I was ricocheting slowly off the pale blue walls of this room, bouncing from typewriter to piano, from bookshelf to an envelope lying on the floor, I found myself in the L section of the dictionary where my eyes fell upon the word lanyard. No cookie nibbled by a French novelist could send one more suddenly into the past, a past where I sat at a workbench at a camp by a deep Adirondack lake, learning how to braid thin plastic strips into a lanyard, a gift for my mother. I had never seen anyone use a lanyard or wear one if that's what you did with them. But that did not keep me from crossing strand over strand again and again until I had made a boxy red and white lanyard for my mother. She gave me life and milk from her breasts, and I gave her a lanyard. She nursed me in many a sick room, lifted teaspoons of medicine to my lips, set cold face cloths on my forehead, and then led me out into the airy light and taught me to walk and swim. And I, in turn, presented her with a lanyard. Here are thousands of meals, she said, and here is clothing and a good education. And here is your lanyard, I replied, which I made with a little help from a counselor. Here is a breathing body and a beating heart, strong legs, bones, and teeth, and 2 clear eyes to read the world, she whispered. And here, I said, is the lanyard I made at camp. And here, I wish to say to her now, is a smaller gift, not the archaic truth that you can never repay your mother, but the rueful admission that when she took the 2-tone lanyard from my hands, I was as sure as a boy could be that this useless, worthless thing I wove out of boredom would be enough to make us even.
Man, that was awesome.
I love it, dude. Yeah, I love it. For one, I love the imagery he creates. I mean, you can see everything that he's describing. You can see him in the room, working on a typewriter and playing at the piano and thumbing through a dictionary, and you can see him at a camp. And, you can see all of these things because he's very simplistic and he doesn't use a lot of outrageous wording.
Yeah.
He's just very like simple and conversational,
Hmm.
but you see it all. It's like it might as well be like a little short film kind of a thing, because you see the whole
Yeah.
thing play out. You can see, and then just the element of humor he adds to it so effortlessly. It's so enjoyable. I love it.
Yeah, and it's not like trying too hard to make punchlines or trying too
Yeah.
hard to make it a funny thing. It's just like, no, this is just observation. Like just taking observation of a time when I was a kid and how it was just this meaningless thing to begin with, and then reflecting on it now, it's like, yeah, that does not compare.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, like the way he paints the picture and tells the story in simple words, Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it played out like you were watching a short film. It played out like you could follow the story so easily, but you were captivated the whole time he was telling it. And I love when people
Yeah.
can do that. Just use simplicity.
The other thing I love about it is all the stuff he doesn't tell you. So like he doesn't in any way describe his mother's reaction to him
Yeah.
giving her a lanyard. But you can totally see how she would be like, "Thanks, honey." Like she's
Yeah, like a
or
mom would
or she's
do.
like, "Oh, that's so great." Like you can just envision it. You can imagine what her reaction probably was, and
Yeah.
it just makes it even that much better.
Yeah,
So
you'll attach the lanyard to the purse for a while because your child made it, and then a couple weeks it disintegrates because a kid made it, and so it's just gonna fall apart, and then it's typically
or
forgotten.
or she never leaves home without it. It's on her keychain. When she passes away, it's right there at her bedside. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like there's this
yeah,
whole poetic thing out of something that he doesn't even give you, but it's there. Yeah,
yeah.
it's great. I
That's
love it.
true. That story could have continued on like this silly, funny thing, and then Act Two is later
Man,
down the road, and then the mother's ill. You go to visit, and there she is with the lanyard still
there it
attached
is.
to
It's
her
on her.
key.
It's on her bedside table,
And then like and
right
the
next to the
story
picture of
ends
him in
with
camp.
and then the story ends with like him laying the lanyard over his mother's crossed arm body in the
On her
casket
tombstone.
as it goes down. Yeah, oh my gosh, that could have continued into so much more, but I'm glad it stayed contained in just this fun
Yeah.
fun story of the view from the child and like, yeah, I mean, we're pretty much even, right? You did all this, you fed me, you raised me, I made you this thing. It's pretty, see?
Yeah. That's the mark of a true pro, man. They know how much to give you. They give you just enough that you can see everything, that you can feel, but then they don't give you too much. They're not overbearing, they're not info dumping. But
Yeah.
they're giving you enough, and then there's a little bit of room there where if you wanted to let your mind wander with it, you could imagine
Yeah.
even more on it. You could expound on it, and it just makes the poem that much better,
Yeah, absolutely. And now I want to go write a short film based
right?
on this story and take it all the way through to the end.
Yeah.
Take my interpretation of it.
There's
No, yeah.
there's a there's a poem of his, and this is sidetracking, but there's a poem of his where he's at the kitchen table and he's playing with salt,
Mhm.
and he's like pondering all these things, and then at the end he like has some salt on his finger and puts it on his tongue, and like the way he describes it, like I literally remember like finishing that poem and like tasting salt in my mouth
Yeah.
because of the description, and you're just like, oh, dude, yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's such
So
good. Yeah, or like when somebody's talking about like a warhead candy, sour candies or something, and then you just like start getting that
you can
buildup in the
feel it,
back
yeah,
where your sour sensors are, and you just start like the saliva starts to come because it's thinking there's something sour in the mouth. Yeah, it's
yeah,
if you can elicit that response with your words, it's beautiful. And like the way he speaks, like I feel like this guy would be great to hang around.
oh
He
yeah,
seems very calming in his speech and the way he delivers. Nothing fancy, but he gives it character when
yeah.
he talks. So like he not only is he a good writer, but he also presents it in such a good way with just the way he talks and presents. Like, yeah, this guy's awesome.
And he has that real nice like dryness about him. He's
Hmm.
probably like the most fantastic storyteller.
Oh
Like
yeah,
he tells the best stories. Like you can just
yeah,
tell looking at him. Like he'd be the most interesting person to have dinner with. And you can imagine the backdrop of his house, dining room
hmm,
table, soft light. There's jazz music somewhere in the background. He's wearing a sweater vest and a tie. After
yeah,
dinner, you're gonna have coffee and smoke cigars. Like that's Billy Collins. Like
absolutely.
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he definitely seems
great.
like that is awesome. All right, so that was Lanyard. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, next we have the poem Forgetfulness. Anything you want to tell us about this poem before we jump into it?
Yeah, this one is much shorter. This one is actually the audience response on this one is so great, and I just
Okay.
imagine like he is like, so he's beaming inside because it's exactly what he intended when he wrote this poem. It's a lot of humor. It's much, much shorter.
Okay.
But it's definitely just as enjoyable. So
Nice. Well, like my first time hearing Billy Collins and actually like hearing one of his poems, and so Lanyard's already off to a great start. I freaking love it. So I'm really excited now about Forgetfulness. All right, everyone, here we go. Make sure the volume's up. Turn it up a little bit. All right. I got a little bit of a long intro.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
Excuse me. This is an older poem. It was in a book called Questions About Angels that the great Ed Hirsch chose for the National Poetry Series, and set me reeling into some kind of poetry life. It's called Forgetfulness, and it's just a meditation on forgetting, and it begins by talking about how we forget the things we read. Forgetfulness. The name of the author is the first to go, followed obediently by the title, the plot, the heartbreaking conclusion, the entire novel, which suddenly becomes one you have never read, never even heard of. It is as if one by one, the memories you used to harbor decided to retire to the southern hemisphere of the brain, to a little fishing village where there are no phones. Long ago, you kissed the names of the 9 muses goodbye, and you watched the quadratic equation pack its bag. And even now, as you memorize the order of the planets, something else is slipping away, a state flower perhaps, the address of an uncle, the capital of Paraguay. Whatever it is you are struggling to remember, it is not poised on the tip of your tongue, not even lurking in some obscure corner of your spleen. It has floated away down a dark mythological river whose name begins with an L. As far as you can recall, well on your own way to oblivion, where you will join those who have forgotten even how to swim and how to ride a bicycle. No wonder you rise in the middle of the night to look up the date of a famous battle in a book on war. No wonder the moon in the window seems to have drifted out of a love poem that you used to know by heart.
Oh my gosh, that hits so close to home.
it's so good.
I talk to Lauren about this all the time,
Oh,
like
yeah?
how I used to be able to quote so much stuff and like had so much knowledge about like my video game knowledge of like classic video games used to be so vast, and like now I'm like I really don't remember who the main character was in this anymore, and like it just starts to disappear after you don't use it because as new information comes in, yeah, the other stuff takes a hike and goes on vacation, and then you slowly start to forget things.
It's so true, man. I will be in mid-sentence trying to say something or talk about someone, and the second I go to say their name, it's gone.
Yep, it's
I
gone.
can see their face. I cannot remember their name. It's
Gosh,
so
and
bad.
there's poetry I used to be able to recite by heart that I used to always want to be one of those people who in conversation could like
Yeah,
pull out of a poem out of thin air and quote the great author so and so used to say. Gosh, I can't even like remember half the stuff anymore.
those people don't exist. Not
It's just
anymore.
in the movies.
They're not under the age of 45. Like, they don't exist.
Yeah,
Not,
and what I love about this poem is it's a poem that everyone can latch onto and be like, yes, like I
yeah.
have experienced that. I understand completely what you're saying, and we can all laugh about this together because we know it's so true.
Yeah. Or we
Yeah,
know someone, someone recently
yeah.
who's been in our family, like it's just such a relatable thing.
Oh,
It's so great.
absolutely. And like, yeah, and once again, the way he delivered that, and it's kind of that dry, just conversational, and then he just like
Yeah.
hits you with those points, and you just start laughing, and he's just like, well, it's true, right?
Yeah. Dude, and just I just love the audience response. Like they're tracking with it and he is killing it.
Oh
Like
yeah.
every line he's killing it and I love it. It's so good.
Man, I would pay to just sit for an hour and listen to him talk and like share a lot of poetry in like
Dude.
that. That's just like filled with that humor because that would be so enjoyable to sit, drink coffee, and just listen to that for an hour.
Yeah, that would be so fun. He's got so many books. The first book of his I ever got was called Ballistics,
Hmm.
and it's just the same. You know, it's ponderings, thoughts,
Hmm.
memories, that kind of thing. And for some reason, anytime I would be in a bookstore, I would just kind of gravitate to his stuff. I would just find his book,
Hmm.
even before I knew who he was really. Like I'd be reading and researching and stuff, and I would always end up with a Billy Collins book in the stack, you know.
Yeah.
And there's just something about the way that he writes. He brings you along on the journey, but he also kind of makes you feel a little bit wiser. It's really
Hmm.
weird, but you feel when you're reading with him, because it feels like you're reading with him, not like you're reading
Yeah.
him. He brings you into the room and you are a part of the furniture. Like you're just there observing. Like people
Hmm.
say a fly on the wall. Like you're that. And he kind of makes you feel a little bit better or a little bit
Hmm.
smarter because he writes in such a relatable way. And if there is anything being said at anyone else's expense, it's always his. You
Yeah.
know, he always talks about himself as if he is the person,
Okay.
you know, doing the silly thing or having the silly thought, you know. And so he kind of includes you in the experience, which is really like really fun and really unique, especially for a
Hmm.
poet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a really good experience, and I love reading Billy Collins. When I have nothing going on and I'm in a coffee shop or I'm, you know, I used to read him on the way to work when I was riding in the van, you know. I'd have a copy with him and we'd be going to lay flooring somewhere and I'd be in the passenger seat just reading Billy Collins, and
That's
it's just,
awesome.
it makes everything a little bit more enjoyable, you know?
Hmm. Heck yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to go pick up some of his books because I want
Yeah.
to. Now that I've experienced like the humor, I want to see kind of what else he's written and some of the other
Yeah.
takes that he's got. And yeah, and listener, I mean, just from hearing this, I think you should also go pick up some Billy Collins because this was so good. Like you can, yeah, like we say, you can tell this guy is a pro just in the way he speaks, his writing, his descriptions. Like there's a reason why he was, the poet laureate, which
Yeah.
will please let us know what that means in the comments, please.
I'm sure someone's going to tell us.
What is that job description?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, obviously, you have to be a pretty dang good writer to get that. But I'm like, what
Yeah,
else is expected of you in that title? It's almost like
yeah,
you hold an office. And I'm like,
yeah. That's what it
what
seems
else does a
like.
poet laureate do? Obviously, they write things to address, you know, national feelings or emotions or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if, yeah, like when some important thing happens, it's like, okay, we need you to share something to lift the spirits or to,
Yeah, or something. Are you just cataloging the emotions of the day? You know, it's such an
Mhm.
interesting thing. I've never looked into it. I mean, obviously we could find out, but it's kind of fun just to imagine this little thing and not know what it is, and
Yeah.
then you know,
And yeah, every state has one too, which is crazy. Every state has a poet laureate, and then
hmm
there's a national one. So, yeah, I aspire to be this guy because
I know,
to be
right,
able to write like that and to be able to
dude?
have that much of a career.
I like so much of my early time practicing writing was, you know, I'd read Billy Collins and I'd turn around and write a book, you know, and there's another poem I almost considered like doing it tonight instead of the forgetfulness, but it's called Aimless Love.
Hmm.
And if you get a chance, you should just watch it just in your own time because
Okay.
it's really cool, and a lot of really good imagery, a lot of good like felt emotion.
Hmm.
I just thought forgetfulness would be more fun because it's more
Yeah.
lighthearted and comical. But if you get the chance, go watch him do Aimless Love. That's a really good one.
Awesome. Heck yeah. Well, what a journey. That was awesome. I'm glad we got to do 2 videos.
Yeah.
And do those and kind of get 2 different. Well, they're both funny, but just 2 different topics from
Absolutely.
him. So, yeah, we'll definitely post a link to the original videos if you want to go back and watch those. Definitely go pick up some of his work. Go watch more of his videos. Yeah, Billy Collins, you're awesome. I'm definitely going to read a lot more of your stuff. But yeah, thank y'all so much for joining us for another reaction video. It's another one under the belts. I love these. And if you haven't gone back and checked all our other ones, we got plenty now for you to go back and watch. So yeah, I got plenty to choose from. Yeah, I can't wait to show you who we're doing next time because I don't even know, but I'll figure it out before the next video.
I'm excited for the next
but yeah,
one.
yeah, absolutely. And there's so much to react to out there in the world. It's like, where do you even start, right?
Right.
But yeah, anyways, thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. As always, I'm Corey,
I'm Ben.
and we'll see you next time.
Peace.